Welcome to Together, the podcast where we explore the art of sacred relationships, conscious parenting, and the journey of becoming a truly conscious couple. Here we believe that relationships aren't just about two people being in love, but about evolving together as a part of a greater human journey. In each one of our episodes, we dive into the wisdom of conscious partnerships, the dance of masculine and feminine energies, and the delicate art of raising children with intention and love. We'll unpack attachment styles. We'll dive into generational healing and connect with spiritual threads that weave us all together. So if you're on a journey to create a more mindful, connected, and loving family life, you are in the right place. Let's grow, heal, and evolve together.
Hi, and welcome to this Together solo episode with Courtney Wren. Today, I'm going to be diving into the topic of when he isn't holding your feelings, the feminine journey from unmet to fully expressed. And this sort of leads off from my Initiated Woman episode, several episodes back. And in this one, I'm going to dive deeper in. And I want to talk about three things. One is the myth of what it means to be held and fully expressed. Also, the internal boundary that actually, as women, if we want to be in a sacred partnership, we need to be practicing regularly. And then also how to communicate it to our partner if it's a deep, ongoing issue. And then at the end, I'm actually going to talk about how to tend to ourselves and those emotions inside of ourselves in a helpful way, some helpful tools. This will be a little bonus, so that you have a practical tool to take away to tend to it in yourself. So let's dive in. So this is something that has been the deepest practice in my journey and also comes up all the time in working with women. And working with men. And so I want to just have a little caveat that I'm talking to women. I'm going to be geared towards talking to women because this is very commonly present for women. But for any men listening out there, this also can be happening for you. You also can take this and think about this from the feminine part of you, the emotional part of you, and where perhaps you're not feeling met in your emotional world by your partner. And so that's my caveat, is listen to this as if I am speaking to the feminine in all of us. And in my work with couples, what I see is this is commonly a place that the feminine is processing in a really big way. And this episode is going to help you a lot because this is where the majority of women get stuck. It's where I've gotten stuck. It's where I can get stuck. And this is where a lot of relationships can really spiral. And so where I want to start off is I want to talk about how this shows up. So how this shows up is, right, the classic, I keep trying to talk to my partner about my feelings. I want to bring them to him. I want to share vulnerably. I know that it's important to share vulnerably, right? A lot of the women I connect with, they know that. They know it's important. Doesn't mean they're always doing it. They've got blocks. Maybe it's scary, but they have a knowing that that's what they need to do. But then that's where it gets messy. Either it always ends up in getting their partner gets defensive, it gets emotional, they get into conflict, or the partner just freezes, they don't really offer anything. It doesn't go anywhere. You share and it doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't lead to anything helpful. But the most common one is defensiveness, I have to say. That the feminine brings the emotion, the partner gets defensive, the feminine feels unmet, unheard. And, again, this can play out in the reverse too. But it happens in a bigger way. I notice in our work between how the feminine is feeling, this is what she's often reporting is the pain point. And, the worst part, if you've been in this place, I know it, is this feeling as the feminine, if I can't deliver my feelings, if I can't come to my partner and share what's happening, I'm trapped, I'm stuck, there's nothing I can do. It just gets worse and worse the more I share, and it can just really shut the feminine down. Either she can get really enraged and frustrated and feel trapped in the relationship, or, and there's this like resentment, rage energy, or just like super shut down, starts to not care about her own emotions, starts to doubt her own emotions, starts to shut down her oracle, and that's another earlier episode you could dive into that goes into that, starts to shut down her intuition, starts to doubt that her emotions are carrying valuable info. So here is the myth that I want to dive into. There is a myth that says that being fully expressed, being vulnerable, and being held in the vulnerability in relationship should look like I, as the feminine, should be able to move towards the masculine, move towards my partner, and I should be able to express my emotions fully, and they should just receive it and meet me in it. And they should be able to meet me in whatever range of emotion I'm in, however I'm expressing it, that fully expressed means that I'm just letting the emotion roar. And this is a myth, okay? And this is where I want to unwind this idea of what it means to be fully expressed. Fully expressed does not mean unbridled emotion. When we're children, when we're toddlers, when we're babies, there's a stage in emotional development where we need to be unbridled, just pure emotion. And that's a stage. It's how we learn about emotion. It's how we embody emotion. And then the next stage is that if we're held in that, if we're loved in that, if our parents are able to receive the pure, raw force of our emotion, the next step is that we start to notice the emotion. We start to be able to name the emotion. We start to be able to build a relationship. Oh, I'm angry right now. Oh, I'm sad right now. Oh, And then the next stage after that is that we start to be able to actually learn about ourselves through the emotion. And then we start to be able to communicate about it and also be able to bring in other emotions to buffer the emotion. So for example, as we build more of that prefrontal cortex and parts of our brains that are more the adult brain as we evolve, we start to be able to, I feel angry and I feel grateful and I feel love and I feel peace and I feel pissed, and all of those are here. And when we start to be able to do that, all of the emotions kind of buffer each other so that it's not just one emotion, pure, raw. So fast forward, we're an adult, we're in relationship. It is actually not appropriate to ever move towards our partner purely from raw emotion that's just coming at them. That is a sign that we are in a younger part of our brain and in a younger part of ourselves. Now, this does not mean that we can't be fully expressed. What it means is that now as an adult with an adult brain, it's actually our job to help set the container and the space with our partner together with parameters, with boundaries, so that I can fully express myself, but not just the raw, energy going at my partner, but instead, hey, I'm feeling angry. I'm having stuff come up. I really need to share. Do you have a minute? Can we sit down? Then we sit down. Our partner checks in. Yeah, I can hear what you're upset about. Okay. And then, having some space to go in and really share both from our adult brain about, I'm aware there's this anger and this is what this anger is saying. This is how I'm feeling it. And also we can, in that moment, if our partner feels grounded enough, get inside that anger and I'm feeling it and, expressing it. But it's in a contained way where there's ground. And so fully expressed does not mean at any point in the day, at any time, I can walk around and just say the emotion, fully express it. It means I am going to, as a sacred adult, a sacred feminine, out of care for my relationship and care for myself, I am going to move towards my partner, and together we're going to create a safe space so that I can share what's coming up for me and that he is able to receive it because he knows that I am tending to it and creating safety together first. So again, as a child, 3-year-old, raw emotion. As an adult, safety first, And so the muscle then becomes of having some internal boundaries inside of ourselves around how we tend to our emotional space so that we can start to build safety between us and our partner. One of the top boundaries that I hold in myself and I'm in a continual practice with, and that I encourage all of my clients to work with, is an internal boundary of, I will not move towards my partner from raw emotion. When I have big emotions rising, first, I'm going to listen. I'm going to connect with that emotion. I'm going to get clear. What am I feeling? What am I needing? And then once I have a handle on that, a sense of that, once I'm in relationship with that emotion, when my adult part of my brain, the part that can see the bigger picture, that isn't just the emotion, that can see all the different pieces, then that adult part of me is going to move towards my partner and let them know I'm having something come up, I'm feeling upset about something, and I'm going to set up a container with my partner to then express what's coming up. And any time that we're moving from that pure raw emotion, you're not bad or wrong. It's okay. That happens. But then there's something here for us to look at. There's something here for us to tend to. And it's not that, it's not then my partner can't hold me. It's, oh, that really wasn't okay for me to just come right at him from pure emotion. I wasn't holding that in myself. Now, so I just want to let that land for a second. Yeah. The other commitment is I commit to creating safety and tending to the relationship first before I bring in deep, raw emotions. And again, this is a practice. It's not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. But every time you do, that is a new place of not only taking responsibility, letting your partner know, oh, shit, I'm so sorry. That was intense. I wish I would have slowed down. I can see how that was intense. And then also it's really good information for yourself. Whoa, okay, I'm going into a young part there. There's something that's needing tending here. So as women, if we can start to hold those two boundaries inside ourselves, we can start to become the container for ourselves of clarity, of where was I in my emotional landscape when I approached my partner? So let's say we approach our partner, we want to talk about something, it doesn't go well. Afterwards, we can reflect. Okay, was I approaching from pure emotion? Had I spent enough time really getting clear what was happening for me and approaching from that place? And then also, what am I needing to see about what's needed for safety and for care of the relationship first? And these are the two muscles that we get to practice. And in this way, as the feminine, this is where we are being our own inner masculine. Like if we think of the masculine and feminine energies. The feminine energy is emotion. She's expression. She wants to be seen and felt. And then the masculine quality is the containment, the structure, the holding. So if we want to bring our feminine to our masculine, we actually have to have our masculine online so that we're doing so in a safe, respectful way. Now, once we have set up the container, and I'm going to talk about how to do that together, once I've set up the container with my partner and we're in agreement, that I can go into that feeling, then we can go into the feeling. And maybe even we're going to growl, and maybe we're even going to express it in an intense way. And we have some agreements of I'm not going to shame and blame and attack you, but I'm going to say I'm feeling so angry. So it's not that we want to shut down the emotion. It's not that there's not a place to share it. It's not that we want to downplay it and minimize it to make it comfortable for our partner. It's still going to bring stuff up. It's still going to be uncomfortable, but it's that we want to set up a scenario that's going to help our partner actually receive us and to be respectful that the person across from us, no matter who they are, they're a sensitive being that has their own emotional landscape, and they also have a primal nervous system, and we all need certain qualities in order to come into a sense of safety enough to receive each other. So, another one for couples listening out there, another good, boundary to have is we're actually not going to process deeper emotional stuff in just the flow of the day, and I'm sure if I said show of hands, how many of you try to work stuff out in the middle of, getting your kid in the car seat, or in the middle of trying to do this thing for work, or we're in the kitchen and we're in a rush to get out the door. And, if we try to tend to bigger emotional stuff in those moments, we almost are guaranteed to fail if it's bigger stuff that hasn't been met. So it can be really helpful to have a boundary of we're not going to process those things right now. We're only going to process those things when there's actually time to slow down and there's actually time to create space to hear each other. Now, the better we get at this, we could, have a moment where we have a fight in the flow of the day, or something gets crunchy. We have a moment we can pause. We can actually do a little practice together for 5 minutes. Whoa, we move through it. Great. But this isn't about, I'm going to share this deeper emotion, that I'm upset with you about, while we're also trying to do all these other things. And that is a very helpful masculine structure that can help us keep our emotional self in check. Our emotional self, those younger parts, need to know that there's somewhere we can bring our emotions. They need to know that they can be heard. And our job is to let them know these parameters. And really what we're saying to them is the reason that we want to follow these rules, the reason we want to have these parameters is because when we show up in these kinds of boundaries with each other, our partner is way more likely to hear us. Our partner is way more likely to be able to receive us. We see this all the time in our Together Couples community where there's these places, right, where it's been so hard for each other to hear each other. Couples are missing each other. There's so much hurt. He's never met me in this place, ever. But when we slow down and we set up the structures, suddenly he hears it different. Suddenly it lands different. Suddenly he responds different. And it's not a trick. It's not now he cares because we're in the community. Although, of course, having other people holding space helps. But it's because our nervous systems need to know what the safety parameters are and what the container is in order for us to drop into the part of our nervous system that is in our ventral vagal, the safety, so that we can actually hear. So our partner could actually be over there being like, oh my gosh, I want to hear her. I want to meet her in this. But if we're just coming at him with pure emotion in the middle of while life is happening and we're trying to juggle and he wasn't prepared and maybe he already has something coming up in him, he could be trying with all his might, but his nervous system is not going to be in ventral and he's not going to be able to hear you. So we want to set up the best scenario for us to be heard. And that is our job to help make that happen. So what does this look like, in the day to day? Okay, I become aware something just happened with Mike. He said something, it hurt my feelings. Here's an example. We're packing, we're going on a camping trip to go to the shoe swap. I'm packing the life jackets. I'm like, Mike, where's your life jacket? All of a sudden he's like, I'm not bringing it. And then in me, I go into this, I want him to wear a life jacket when he's on a boat because I want him to model this for Cedar around safety. So then I, have this deeper feeling come up, and then I start to try to communicate about it, but now he can feel that and he starts snapping at me. So I pause and I say, Mike, I'm realizing I have something I really need to share around here. There's a lot of feelings here. Would you have space right now for us to slow down? Like, could we go sit in the kitchen for 10 minutes and breathe and I could share, or should we talk about it later? So first it's the check-in. Where is my partner at? Letting him know I've got stuff coming up. I need to share this. So I'm honoring that, right? And I'm checking in. Is this the moment or later? Okay. In that scenario, he did have it in that moment. We went in the kitchen, we slowed down, we breathed. And then this is where it can be really helpful to, once you're sitting, then it's like checking in. Are you up for me sharing now what is arising in me and giving them the opportunity? Are they ready? Going slow. Do they feel ready to really hear and receive you? And what that's requiring in me is this part of my brain, the adult part of my brain that can hold that I've got this charge, this part that's feeling afraid and upset, but also holding the well-being of my whole family and the stability of the field and wanting to really set up a scenario where I'm actually going to be heard. And that is my job. And I really want you to hear that. That's not me as the feminine over taking care of the masculine. That's not me not being held. That's me doing my due diligence to take care of myself and to take care of my partner and to take care of the relationship. If we think about emotions are like this raging river, if there's no banks to the river just washes everything away. Then the more strong the banks are, the more clear the banks are, then the water can get guided exactly to where it needs to go. And that's our job, to get clear what the banks are. And the more we can do that, the more our partner will be able to actually hear us and actually receive us. So the last point I want to make is, okay, so what if this is an ongoing issue? It's an ongoing issue. I don't feel met. And now not only are there all these moments where I want to express my emotions, right? That are coming up, but now I also have the emotion of, you're never receiving my emotion, right? So now I don't know how many of you have been in this place. My guess is there are those of you out there that are experiencing this, because this is very common. What women are processing is where now when we try to go have a conversation with the masculine about what we're feeling, now the other part is coming out. You never hear me. You're not hearing me. I'm feeling so frustrated. I don't want to share with you anymore. And then we kind of get into that place. So first of all, that is not the place to go into that layer of you never hear me. So right now, getting clear in yourself, is this an ongoing thing with my partner? And do I have a charge around that? Do I have hurt around that? Okay. So how to communicate this? First of all, it is not going to work to communicate it to him in the heat of the moment. So a common thing that will happen is women will come in and they'll talk about, I've been telling him over and over and over that I'm not feeling heard. But then when we get into it, they only tell him that in the heat of an argument, right? So it's only revealed when they're already in a charge about something together. That is not going to land in him in a clear, grounded way, because of where he's at in his nervous system, and because, he's going to be like, oh, well, she was upset, right? We have to find a way to communicate it to our partner when there's ground, when there's more safety, when you're feeling connected, And when that's all you're bringing up. So you're not going to approach him and give him a list of things you're upset about today and then tell him, and you're not hearing my emotions. Your intention is specifically going to be to communicate this piece. The other piece about it is, so you've got to get yourself in a grounded place, a really grounded place, okay? And know that he might get defensive. He might have stuff come up, and be prepared for that. Like, this is part of the process. So now what you're going to do is you're actually going to, again, check in. Hey, this is feeling so good. We're feeling so connected. Maybe even planning, how could we get more connected right now? And then sharing, I have something I want to share that I'm desiring or needing and that I'm learning about in myself. And I'd love to share about that. And I'm wondering if right now is a good time. Right? Seeing what happens for him. Is now a good time? Later? Then, and also we're preparing him, right? And maybe even offering reassurance. Like what I'm really desiring is for us to feel closer. I want to feel more connected because I love you so much. And then delivering the message of, hey, I'm noticing this ongoing experience where I want to be heard in my emotions. I want to be able to express my emotions and be met. And I'm noticing every time we sort of go into that place, we're missing each other. We're not hearing each other. Something's happening. And so notice as I'm using these words, I'm not saying you. I'm saying we. We're missing each other. We're not making it through that place. Even, I notice we both feel frustrated. I notice we both aren't sure what to do in that place. So how can you name it as a shared experience? Because something's happening for your partner too in that place. And the more we can name it as a shared experience, they're going to get less defensive. And then saying, I really am needing us to find a new way through this place in order to be able to come more into safety and connection and joy with you. And I'm wondering if you are willing to learn how to do that together. And notice how I'm saying we language, together language. I'm saying it in a ways like, I want you. I want to go through this with you. And notice how in order to do that, I've got to be in my adult brain. I have to be in the part of me that can feel the part that's angry, that can feel the part that's hurt, that can feel all of that, but I'm not leading with that because my goal is connection. When we're coming from the wound actually is like, I want you to hurt and I want you to feel my hurt because then you're going to get it. When we're coming from the adult part of our brain, we're like, oh, I'm wanting connection. I'm not wanting disconnection. I'm actually wanting to be connected. So how can I approach this right now to embody connection? And to do this, it's probably going to require you to work with your own nervous system, get grounded, talk with friends, get support, get co-regulation, really tune into how much you love your partner and the beautiful moments you've had together. And when you share this with your partner, you might want to add a caveat of, my request is that we either start to do a course or read a book or go get counseling or therapy or some sort of support within the next month to work on this part. And I have some ideas of people. And so you're making a specific request, but not including any of the and you haven't done it and you haven't been, and why should I have to, none of that. Nope. Just a very clear, this is what I think would help us. This is what I think is needed. And I'd really like to do this together. And so this is an idea of how to approach this. Now, some of you might be like, yeah, but what if I do all these things and he still isn't responding? I'm going to do that in another podcast because that's a next step, another level. But I really encourage you to think of, in what I've shared in today's podcast, in this landscape, how could you approach things different? What could you try? And knowing that you might need to bring this piece up a few times and committing to yourself, again, not in the heat of the argument, maybe that you'll do it 3 times within a month and practice doing it in a safe, connective way, because it's going to be a practice for you too, using we language, together language, and see what happens. And I want you to be curious and open to miracles. One of the things I love about my work is it's a very common experience where I'll be supporting a woman and I'll be like, approach him like this. And she's like, I have done this 1,000,000 times and it's always met back with defensiveness. And then she goes and she tries it with this little tweak, this little difference, this subtle difference, and suddenly something different happens. And so being open to that, there might be a part of your partner, there likely is a part of your partner that you haven't actually met yet because you guys are getting stuck. And he's there. You just have to you need to embody something different to meet him. And so if we are looking at what's there now and using that as evidence of how he's not going to be able to meet you, you are going to block the reality of who you could meet very quickly when you come in with new ingredients. And so this is the place of the trust fall. This is the place of the warrioress. Can I go in there and do this, having no guarantee, no evidence that I'm going to be met different? Jump off that cliff, do the thing a few times, and then see what happens. And this is the level of commitment we need to embody for those fires of alchemy to do their work. And then we get to see, okay, now what happens? So I want to leave you with a few ideas of what you can do to work with the raw emotion, right? Because this is the other thing. And this is the bonus. This is the bonus piece. The raw emotion is there. I'm feeling pissed at my partner right now. I'm feeling upset about that right now. You know, for me, I'm a very emotional, fiery person. Anyone that knows the Gene Keys, whenever I get my Gene Keys read, they're like, the first time, you have the triple wild feminine emotions. And I'm like, yes, I do. I have very fiery, big emotions. So it's been a huge journey for me to learn how do I relate with them first. And I've done it very messy many, many times. And I've done it very graciously a lot of times as I get better and better at it. Some ways to work with it. One of my favorites, put on some music. You can either I like to lay on my bed. You could just stand up. You could lay on your side. You start to hum and make vibrations through humming through your body, and you start to move and undulate your body. And not thinking about how you're moving your body, but like letting your body express the feeling and express the energy through movement. What will happen, especially if you're undulating and moving your hips, it helps emotion move through your body. And what I find is through the humming, through the undulation, through the movement, deeper insights come. I start to be able to, oh, that's what's happening. Oh, I can see myself different. Oh, it creates a container for movement and meeting ourselves. You know, we're practicing becoming aware of our own inner landscape. The other thing is being able to actually scoop up that inner child, that little girl. So asking yourself, how old is this little girl? You know, I am upset with my partner about this. That's 10% of it. But the little girl part, how old is she and what is she feeling and how is she perceiving this? And, you know, can I see her? Can I feel her? And can I let her know I'm here to listen? I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to listen here. And this is the work that we do in our Together community too, is learning how to work with those child parts and how to get into the adult part of our brain. And this is a helpful way, like practice. How do you talk to her? How does she need you to talk to her? Because she needs to know that you are hearing her emotions. And one of the best things to say to our inner child is, hey, I'm here. I want to understand. I'm not going to let you go hurt other people or move towards other people yet. I want to get clear what you're needing. And once I'm really clear, I'm going to be the person that goes out and figures out how to communicate this and how to make requests and how to meet your need relationally. right? I'm the go-between. So let me understand, help me understand. The other one that's key is leaning into sisterhood. So women tend to be able to meet us in a different way, faster has been my experience. When we've got the right women in our lives, that's the thing. Lean into your sisters, move towards your sisters, find ways to be held, to be met, to be cuddled, to be seen and loved. And this, this doesn't mean going to your partner, to your friend and saying, my partner did this and he did this and he did this. What I'm talking about is going towards your sister and saying like, oh, there's this like really sad, angry part in me, Oh, there's this story in me that says I'm never going to get met. Oh, I'm feeling this tightness in my chest, like really sharing vulnerably what's underneath and letting our sisters hold us in it. I have a lot of really beautiful sister energy in my life, including being a part of a temple where we touch each other and hold each other and look in each other's eyes and practice presence together. And then sisters who hug me and listen and are there for my inner journey. And when we can move towards and be met in our emotional body by other sisters, it helps soften that place of like, I'm not being met and I'm all alone, because suddenly we're not all alone. And so, where else can you take your emotions? Where else can you be held? And part of, becoming a woman who can embody the graciousness needed to be in sacred relationship is we need to build relationships with friends who can hold us so that it's not all on our partner. And so that in those intimate, clunky places with our partner, we can come in more resourced. And it's a huge part of what's needed to embody sacred relationship. So get curious about that. So thank you so much for hanging out, for sticking around. Please comment and share what came up for you, what you're wondering about. Mike and I have our Couples Together community for couples, and I'm going to be launching within the next few months. My wait list is about to come out. Something called the Initiated Woman, which will be a 9-month intimate program for women to journey with me, where we're going to work with this. We're going to work with what does it look like to be the feminine in partnership? What does it look like to be the feminine who is able to move towards the masculine and initiate him through her emotions, through her oracle, but in a responsible, adult, gracious way? And what does it look like to do the inner work of repatterning the generational pieces and the inner child and the nervous system and the attachment system so that we can do that, so that we can show up for that? And it's going to be a powerful experience. I'm really excited. So stay tuned for that. And if you are finding our Together podcast helpful, we have a free offer for you, Mike and I. So if you give us a 5-star rating and then go to the link below in the show notes, you can put the screenshot of the rating and you'll receive a free somatic activation that we recorded for your relationship. So thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for tuning in. Share this episode if you found it helpful.